guns and violence, this is what's glorified in entertainment. This is what it is. And as adults, we can decipher, like, man, you know, that's a cool action video. He using some cool clips in there. Man, that really happens in shooting. But kids see that, and that's what they mock. They want to live that life that they're seeing, that these people are glorifying, because they thinking it's all peaches and cream. This guy's rapping about it, and look at the money he makes. Look how cool he is. Everybody likes him, and that's who they begin to copy from. 12% of all residential burglaries last year were committed by teenagers. That's teenagers breaking in houses, committing crimes. 15% of all molestation charges last year were committed by teenagers. You look at the statistics, crimes committed by teenagers and juveniles almost doubled last year, and all across the board. Like I said, we in grave danger. Our teens, you know, we have to break the cycle and try to lead them on the path and teach them in the ways that they need to go in. And it's not just a responsibility of the parent of that child, it's our responsibility as a whole to try to do what we can to reach not just our children, but the children around our children, or the children around our neighborhoods. You know, back in the day, a neighborhood raised their kids. The kids in that neighborhood were for everybody, or everybody had a say-so. You know, I even remember getting in trouble and getting snitched on by my neighbors. You know, I remember I got caught smoking behind my house by my neighbor, and I only got chewed out by my neighbor. You know, not only did I get in trouble by my neighbor, I got in trouble again when my mom made it home. But 11% of our teens this year are going to drop out. That's pretty much a statistic. 11% of teens are going to drop out of school. And those same teens that are dropping out, making bad grades, those probably the same ones who are always constantly in trouble at school, suspended numerous of times, the violent teens, and from there, as we all know, those teens who drop out, they're less likely to get jobs or well-paying jobs. They're more likely to be on government assistance. They're more likely to be in poverty. They're more likely to commit crimes. And we can say that's a black thing, but it's really not. It affects all across the board. That's not a race thing. That's not a color thing. You know, black people, white people, like I said, Hispanics, whatever race you want to look at, if you drop out of school, that's a fact. You looking at not getting as good a job, or you looking at you broke, so you committing crimes to make money. So that has nothing to do with color. Now this statistic I will say, because I've observed this, and I think we all know this, we probably all have heard it more than once, and we hate to believe it. And this is why we need to have a stronger calling for our teens, to try to teach our teens in better ways. And like I say, try to observe and pay attention to what our kids are listening to, watching, and what they're picking up from other people. Because 1 in 10 black men, 1 out of every 10 black men will end up in prison at some point in time in their life. Like I said, they won't have jobs. Those 1 out of 10 black men probably won't care for their children because they don't have a job, or they're in prison for a long amount of time, and they lose connection with their family and with their kids. 1 out of every 7 black men will be convicted of some type of felony, which means 1 out of 7 of those black men convicted of those felonies will probably lose their right to vote, because in pretty much all the states in the United States of America, a felon can't vote. So they don't even get to voice their opinion in our government. And that's 1 out of 7. Although blacks only make up 13% of the U.S. population, we're half of the prison population. So we only make up 13% of the entire U.S. population, but we're half the population in our prison systems. Like I said, it's really not a color issue with me. Drugs are affecting not only the black community, they're affecting our white communities. Methamphetamines and meth use is steadily on the rise, especially in our white communities. And it's affecting them. It's affecting young people. Until you actually get on the street and you deal with some of these people, some of these teenagers, you know, 14 to 15 years old, that have already done meth and already addicted to some type of drug, it's a sight to see, and it's a reality check. And I think we all need to sit back and take a minute and just have a reality check for ourselves. Because like I said, you can put yourself in a box all you want to, but this is our future that we're talking about. And I'm not saying just in the box saying, I'm not saying that you got to put your kids in the box, or you have to live in a box, or live like you don't exist on the planet Earth, like nothing else is going on outside your house and you're all holy inside your house. But it's time we take a reality check on what are we allowing our kids to listen to, what are we allowing our kids to watch, what are we allowing our kids to, you know, follow and mimic. You know, where are they getting these trends they're getting from. And like I said, I'm not saying all entertainers are bad. I'm not saying I have a personal issue with our entertainers, but I think we need to call for better standards for a lot of these entertainers. Because like I said, everybody right now is in that party lifestyle. Reality TV shows, all they mainly do is curse, party, pass out, sleep with everybody in the houses they in, or sleep with people on the show that, you know, they don't know, one night stands. All those are a part of the entertainment because that's what sells. And the TV shows and these TV companies are promoting it because that's what sells. That's what our teens are paying attention to. That's what our young adults are watching. Our young adults are attracted to that life. And we need to try to break that cycle, because that cycle, like I said, it doesn't only affect that child. You look at if a person gets caught in the prison system, and I'm not saying everybody that goes to prison is stuck in the system, but if you even ask an ex-prisoner or ex-con, ex-felon, does he feel like he's trapped in the system? Because once you're in the system, it's hard. You get charged with a felony. You do time. When you get out, a lot of jobs won't hire you with the felony on your record. And it's all fine and dandy when you're young, you're a teenager, you run around having fun, you're doing what everybody else thinks is cool, you're selling or you're doing drugs, you're committing crimes, you know, you got you a throwaway, etc. But once you get caught with that and you get trapped in that system, you're in the system now. Now you just made it harder for yourself. Once you dig yourself so deep into the system, all you know is crime. When you do get out of jail, you can't find a job, but you want money. Most things, they turn right back to crime. So it's time we take a reality check, start breaking the cycle. Even with racism, like I said, with the barriers we create to separate ourselves, it's time we start breaking the cycle. Because the cycle starts as adults. Adults was teaching these kids, you know, racism. TV is what's teaching these kids racism. The different things we watch and allow them to learn is what's teaching these kids how to put up these barriers. And I know back in time, you know, a little bit before my time, you know, segregation existed, and it was the entire United States was divided by racism. So I'm not saying racism doesn't exist. What I'm saying is racism is taught and then it's learned. It's not something, you're not born racist. You're not born to hate white people. You're taught to hate white people. You're not born to hate black people. You're taught to hate black people. You allow your experiences to let that hate grow and have growth in it. And then some people, I've even met people who told me, you know, their parents raised them not to like black people. And then once they got in a situation where they had to deal with or be around black people, they learned that that was wrong. And it changed. They broke the cycle. They didn't teach their kids the same thing that their parents taught them. So we have to start taking responsibility to break the cycle now. You know, regardless if you grew up on the good side of the neighborhood or you grew up on the bad side of the neighborhood, whether you grew up in a nice neighborhood or grew up in the projects, you don't have to become a product of your environment. You can break the cycle. But the choice is with you whether or not you want to break the cycle. The statistics show you what happens when we don't break the cycle. And we haven't broken the cycle, and that's why the statistics have steadily been on the rise. More and more, you know, like I said, it's being brought into our entertainment system that's what's selling. And, you know, more and more negativity is what's selling. We glorify violence. We glorify the dope gang. We glorify the drug dealers. That's what's glorified. And then, you know, nobody glorifies just going trying to get you an education. There's very few entertainers that actually promote that and don't promote the party. So of course your teens, by going by the entertainers they follow and that, you know, they worship, or, you know, they listen to all the time, however you want to look at it, of course that those lifestyles they're seeing or they're reading about in magazines of these entertainers and famous people that, you know, everybody seems to watch, these icon figures, those are like idols to teens. If we don't step up and teach our teens, you know, to idol God and idol the ways of God, you know, it's bound to continue to get worse and worse. Nothing is going to change until we break the cycle. I mean, it went from, you know, back in the days when entire families went to church on Sundays or Sunday school and then went to church on Sundays, and then families sat down and ate Sunday dinner, to now church attendance is at its highest on holidays. You know, Easter, Christmas, everybody's at church. All the families at church, and then it's right back to you got a few here and a few there. And, you know, it's not just us that have to break the cycle. You know, I'm not saying all the churches, but I feel like churches need to break the cycle also. Stop allowing your church to become a barrier to the streets. And, you know, I feel like I'm in a position, you know, I'm doing this. I'm not doing this for a congregation, so I'm not a pastor or a preacher like I said before. I'm just, you know, a Christian. I'm a minister of God's word. And what I want to, you know, bring out and talk about is we can't allow barriers to separate us any further if we plan on breaking the cycles. And that goes for the church too. The church endorses some of these entertainers. The church has become afraid to address certain issues in the church. And mind being, I'm not talking about every church, so don't think I'm against every church out there. But if the shoe fits, wear it. And I'm not saying you can't change what's been faulted, but it's a lot of churches out there who are afraid to address certain issues because they're afraid to make people upset in the church. And they're afraid to lose members of the congregation. They're afraid to lose those tithes that they may get from those members, or afraid to push the wrong buttons on certain people or certain figures in their church. It ain't about that. It ain't about that at all. The church has got to lead some of these cycles getting broken. The churches have to stop letting these walls and these church doors close to what's going on outside on the street. Because, like I said, it's people who I've gone to church with, seen at the front pew, and their lifestyles outside this church doesn't match with the responsibilities and the standards of God. So just because you're in the front pew of the church don't mean you'll be saved. You know, just like the Bible says, he who's first shall be last, and who's last shall be first. We got to break the barriers. We got to reach out to the streets. We got to stop letting the streets just run amok because we scared to step up. We scared to say something. We're afraid of what may come from the streets if we reach out to them. Stop having the mentality, you know, and in some of the older churches, you know, it breaks their tradition. We can't be traditional. Jesus wasn't traditional. That's why a lot of people didn't like him. That's why he was hated, because he was different. He was something out of the ordinary, and people didn't know how to handle that. Right now, we in times of out of the ordinary. Things have to be untraditional now if we plan on changing things and breaking any of the cycles that we have going on in our planet, in our world right now that we live in. And like I said, the church needs to be a place that reaches out, accepts people. You know, it's easy for us to cause separation and set up barriers. You know, Methodists don't want to fool with Baptists. Baptists don't want to fool with Catholic. Catholic don't want to fool with Mormon. Whatever. The main thing we need to worry about is if you forgot, let's try to figure out how we can get some more souls, and stop trying to figure out, well, we ain't trying to talk to them because they doing this, that over their church. We too busy putting up barriers instead of knocking barriers down to create unity, to help break these cycles. And that's what it's going to take to break cycles. It's not going to take one person trying to break a cycle. It's going to take unity to break a cycle.